I think what makes the Newly different is that by the time we go public, we will have revenue, and we're actually on track to be cash flow positive. In addition to psychedelic-assisted psychotherapy, we have an addiction treatment program, we have a chronic pain management program, and we have a return to work program. And so we have multiple streams of revenue.
Joining me now is Arthur Kwan, CEO of the Newly Institute. Arthur, welcome.
Thank you very much.
You bet. It's nice to have you here. Arthur, tell us about the Newly Institute. What is the business?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're a network of multi-disciplinary mental health clinics. So we have a location in Calgary that's open right now. We're building out several others across Canada. Our goal is to be coast to coast. So we offer psychedelic-assisted psychotherapy like a number of other companies. But on top of that, we also have a chronic pain management program, an addiction treatment program, as well as a return to work program for people that are off work due to long-term disabilities of a psychological nature.
Wow. And so you are treating patients currently?
We are. Our flagship clinic in Calgary opened up a few months ago, and we have patients every day. We've been seeing RCMP officers, police officers, the general population, as well as military veterans.
Uh-huh. Okay, so this is the first time I've heard of psychedelics in the context of pain management systems. So how does that work?
Yeah, so there's been, chronic pain and psychedelics has, typically go hand in hand. So for example, MindMed last year announced Project Angie, where they were exploring the use of LSD, for example, for chronic pain management program. Now, this is an emerging field. Our current psychedelic-assisted psychotherapy program is actually geared towards more treatment-resistant depression, anxiety, and trauma, for example, like PTSD.
Right. Okay, and so you're currently in the process of doing an IPO funding.
So we're in the middle of our pre-IPO round right now. We do have a goal of going public sometime this year. Hopefully there's a window opening up in the equity capital markets, and then we'll pursue that. We're in pretty good shape. We just completed our financial audit for our fiscal year end. The auditors are in reviewing our stub period, and we've been working with BLG, our law firm, in drafting a long form prospectus.
Okay. What is the purpose of the funds? How are you going to spend the money?
Yeah, absolutely. So phase one of our growth plan calls for clinics in Calgary, Fredericton, and Edmonton. So to that end, as I mentioned earlier, Calgary has been open since October 1st. It's our flagship clinic. It's 11,000 square feet, believe it or not. And our Fredericton clinic is scheduled to open up within weeks. Our target date is mid-February, and we're building out a clinic in Edmonton right now. It's scheduled to open its doors in the springtime. Now, phase two calls for St. John's, Newfoundland, Halifax, and Ottawa. And so the use of proceeds for the IPO, we hope to have clinics across the country from coast to coast. So we have plans for up to 12 clinics across Canada.
Okay, so you're going to remain Canadian focused then?
For now, we do have aspirations. In our executive ranks, we have 3 former high-ranking officials from the Canadian military who have deep relationships with the U.S. military. We do have aspirations to expand into the U.S. and to co-list into the U.S. for that matter. But that's, we're still a little whiles away from that plan. Our stage one is sort of Canada first.
Sure. So in your clinical setting, do patients sort of come in and meet with a counselor and then undertake a session in the presence of a counselor?
Yeah, but not just a counselor, but everything that we do is evidence-based and medical backed. So in our clinics, we have psychiatrists, psychologists, social workers, and nurse practitioners. And so everything is under the guidance of a medical doctor. And so, and what we offer is intensive outpatient programs. So a single client may come into our clinic several times a week, but at the end of the day, as opposed to inpatient programs, they get to go home and eat dinner with their family and sleep in their own beds. And so they'll come in for a ketamine session under the guidance of a nurse practitioner after a psychiatric assessment by one of our psychiatrists or another psychiatrist. And then they'll come back for a psychotherapy session.
Right. And is the cost of these programs covered by provincial health insurance?
So we are a private clinic, so we are outside the public health system. So typically private insurance companies or, a government agency or various organizations will cover the cost of the program.
I see. And then, so what is the cost of a typical program course?
Sure. So we have several tiers, but for example, our Flex program, which is probably the most common program, runs around $6,000 per intensive outpatient program. So that's for a 4-week program.
Sure. And what do the numbers sort of dictate in terms of success rates?
Yeah, so it depends on, to be honest with you, it depends on the severity of the trauma. So, one client may after 4 weeks be well enough to graduate from our program. Another client may, take 2 or 3 programs in a row to get back to a good state. So it really depends on a case-by-case basis, depending on the severity of the depression or PTSD or trauma.
Right. The sector, the publicly traded psychedelic sector, so far has been a poor performer in terms of investor experience. And so I'm wondering if you have any insight as to why that has been more or less uniformly the case. And what is driving it, and when will it change?
Yeah, I think like any new sector, and this reminds me of the early days of the cannabis sector, where there was a bunch of euphoria and everybody was piling in, and as a result, valuation multiples got a little bit rich. And so sure enough, with any new sector, whether it's cannabis or psychedelics or some other sector, there's always some profit taken for those people that got in early. And I think that had a lot to do with it. I think what makes the newly different is that by the time we go public, we will have revenue, and we're actually on track to be cash flow positive. And so that'll differentiate us from the rest of the pack. The other thing that will differentiate us is that we're much more than just psychedelics. As I mentioned, we bill ourselves as a holistic, interdisciplinary mental health clinical company. So again, in addition to psychedelic-assisted psychotherapy, we have an addiction treatment program, we have a chronic pain management program, and we have a return to work program. And so we have multiple streams of revenue.
Right. Okay, Arthur, that's great. We're going to leave it there for now. Thank you very much for the introduction. I appreciate your time. We'll come back to you soon.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Bye for now.